This is a special report from About Space Today.
From Florida's Kennedy Space Center is Dawn Meyer.
As NASA and SpaceX gear up for the first NASA-certified, commercially run operational mission to the International Space Station, dubbed Crew 1, there has been mention made of the lessons learned from the recent Demo 2 flight. The Demo 2 mission launched in May of 2020 and splashed down in August. It was the first commercially run mission to carry astronauts to the space station and was considered a shakedown mission of the Dragon crew module and systems. At a recent press briefing, SpaceX Vice President for Build and Flight Reliability, Hans Koenigsmann, spoke of the lessons learned from that flight and the changes made to the program as a result.
Demo 2 was extremely clean for an inaugural mission. Bob and Doug gave us great feedback, and basically on everything from the ground supply all the way to the spacecraft itself, and it was a long way to get to the point, but I really feel like we did it safely and reliably, and built a great spacecraft, and they tested it very well during the first mission. So there's always lessons learned, and in this particular case we learned a couple lessons. One of them is related to the heat shield. We found on its tile a little bit more erosion than we wanted to see, and it had to do with obstructions within the heat shield itself, where the spacecraft is mounted to the trunk, basically. And in that particular area, we redesigned the heat shield tile, and at this point in time, everything has been tested and is ready to go for the next mission. The other lesson learned was related to how we measure the altitude during the parachute deploy. Last time we deployed inside the allowable box, absolutely no problem, but just a little bit lower than we expected. And so we improved the barometric altitude measurement, and we improved the cross-check with all the other navigation sensors for the next mission. And then, last not least, we closely coordinate between NASA and SpaceX with the U.S. Coast Guard to establish a 10-mile keep-out zone for any boaters, to make sure that the recovery is safe and that our crew is safe, the astronauts are safe, and the public itself is safe. And so we're going to have more boats on the next go around, and make sure that the area is really clear of any other boats.
In addition to the technical lessons learned, NASA astronaut Michael Hopkins, the commander of SpaceX's Crew 1 mission, spoke of the more personal lessons passed along to the Crew 1 astronauts from the Demo 2 astronauts Doug Hurley and Bob Bacon.
And then I'll jump in terms of from Bob and Doug. We were very fortunate after they got on orbit, probably about a week after, I think, we had a chance to have a conference with them. And then once they returned to Earth, the same thing. We had an opportunity to speak with them. And one of the great things about that is you get to hear sometimes the little details that don't show up in a training program or a training lesson. And some of those things are simple. Some of those may not seem like a lot, but they can be very important. For example, they talked a lot about some of the sounds that occurred during the fueling process. You know, this is something that we haven't done in the past, and so having astronauts in the capsule on the rocket as you're fueling it up is a little bit different. And so listening to them describe some of those sounds is very helpful, because then when we hear them during that process, you're expecting it, and it's not as big of a surprise, and you're not sitting there looking at each other were we supposed to hear that. The other thing is not just the sounds, but the feelings, and so they talked a little bit about that. And when I say feelings, I mean what the vehicle is doing. You're feeling the vehicle as it's coming in the atmosphere, for example, and they described a little bit about that. And again, it helps set those expectations and helps you prepare for those events.
Countdown preparations continue for this historic commercially run flight to the International Space Station. From the Kennedy Space Center on Florida's Space Coast, this is Dawn Meyer for About Space Today.
This has been a special report from About Space Today.